What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys had a excellent weekend. I hope you guys are doing well. I know I'm on the mend from a really shitty cold. I don't know if it's RSV or what I've done. Maybe I got the coof. I don't know, but I brought something back when I came back last week from California, and I almost think I don't even think it's anything relatable to a virus. I think all that happens is that my tonsils get inflamed from time to time. I've talked about this before on other streams. My doctors say that removing your tonsils now isn't necessary, and they don't like to do it unless it happens constantly or that it's an ongoing problem. So I think that's part of what I'm going through right now with a little bit of a head cold. So I'm just getting over that. So bear with me if I sound a little muffled tonight. I hope you guys are doing good. I'll give it a second for the chat to roll into the stream so we can get on to tonight's topics. If you're new to the stream, let me know in the chat. And if you're coming in from somewhere outside of the usual norms, sound off in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from, and we'll feature your comments down in the chat. Again, I hope everybody's doing well. What a weekend it was. Busy weekend. Of course, I've got some things to talk about in the unacceptable fringe realm of things. We have a new book out on the market, and of course I'll get into that further on into the stream. Something that's actually going to be there for viewers for something they can possibly win, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. We're going to talk a little bit about this week's video on Justin Trudeau and his announcement against grocers and, and retailers, and what his ridiculous plan is to try and combat the ongoing cost of inflation. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a fun stream, though. Hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are getting ready for the Million Man March or the Million Person March, the 1 million March for Kids coming this Wednesday. I know I'm going to be looking at my listings in Calgary and trying to get out there as best as I can. I'm going to have coverage as to what happens. My concerns over whether or not this is going to remain peaceful, and not necessarily because of the people who are protesting, but the counter protest really has me worried as to whether or not it's going to remain peaceful. But we'll get into that further on in the stream as well. Let's jump in and catch up with the chat. Mike TV jumping in. How you doing? Welcome in. Tempest is in as well. Brian Gallant, do we get fringe benefits here? You're going to get one benefit we're going to get into a little bit later on. Sass Popovich coming in from Cowtown, good old Cowtown, Calgary. Good to see you in here, my hometown. Thank you for joining us on the stream. Candace Lee jumping in from New Brunswick. Great province. Been there once. Nice place. Kitty the Prepping Cat jumping in. Hope all is well as well. Thank you for coming into the stream. Nice to see you in here. Xylo 41s jumping in. Trudeau CEOs fix my stupid tax idea. Tax. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that because, boy, wasn't that the stupidest thing he possibly could have said? Now, that doesn't really strike me as anything out of the ordinary because Justin Trudeau, of course, isn't the smartest of individuals. He's not. He's not the smartest, but it's the people that write for him or the people that advise him. I question their intelligence level as well. Terry's coming in from Fort Mac. Welcome into the stream. Good old Fort Mac. Oil Strong, welcome in. Brian's headed to the protest this week. Be careful, Antifa and plants. Yeah, that's my concern. And again, we'll get into that in this stream. I want to talk about that a little bit. Chuck Davis coming in from Peterborough. I believe that's Ontario, right? Peterborough, Ontario. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, I'm sorry. Welcome into the stream, Chuck. Good to see you. CB jumping in. He's in the third rock from the sun. He's on Earth. That's okay, CB. We don't want to oust where you are. It's good to see everybody flowing in here. Mystical's jumping into the stream as well. Welcome into the stream from Calgary, Lethbridge for a visit next week. There you go. Lethbridge is a great town. My brother-in-law lives there. I'm quite fond of Lethbridge. I like it. We need to talk about how the federal government is blackmailing Calgary to change our zoning laws. That's news to me. I'm going to have to look into that. If you want to enlighten me a little or a link as to where I could find some information on that, we'll definitely talk about that tonight. Tammy's coming in from Elliott Lake, Ontario. Welcome in, Tammy. Good to see you in here. It's great to see you. Freedom Honey jumping in. Are you marching on Wednesday? I plan to. I try to run things around my kids. And of course, if I can find the time to get down there, if I don't have an issue with my toddler, I plan to be there. I might even do a little bit of live coverage down from the march as well. I'll be checking my local listings as to what is happening in Calgary because I'm not 100% sure as to where people are meeting or what's going on yet. But I will do my best to be there. I hope to be there, and we'll see how things unravel. Freedom Honey is going to be at the Edmonton one. Good for you. I'm glad to see people are going because that was my number one concern was is this going to be like Rolling Thunder where they hype it all up and then it ends up being a big nothing burger. I know in cities like Calgary where you have the strong Muslim community presence, I don't think you were going to have it fizzle out, but I wondered with other cities. But it looks like Billboard Chris, Josh Alexander are going to be present in Ottawa, and so is Maxime Bernier on Wednesday. As well, they're going to be doing Billboard Chris and Josh Alexander are going to be doing a march on Friday, I believe, in Toronto. I'll have to double check on that one though. Zyla, I've only seen advertising for Alberta and Ontario. There you go. Okay, SAS is coming in with a little more information. Federal bucks are being held back unless we change all R1 single family homes to high density apartments and townhouses. Plus, they will not have to have, and I'm assuming they're going to type some more information. And I know YouTube limits how much you can put in a comment, so we'll be patient for the rest. Did you see the video for the union members planning the counter protest? Yes, I did, and that's disgusting. The whole thing with this march is a little out of control. Here's the rest of the information. Plus, they will not have to have available parking as we won't be using cars in a while. There you go. Well, I'm going to look a little bit more into that, Sess. I appreciate you bringing it up. If that's the case, wow, what a load of bullshit that is. But I want to dig a little bit further. And I guess, like, I'm interested in those topics, and I will be talking about that if that is in fact happening. I don't really want to get into it too much unless I've got a clear understanding of what's going on because of course I want to keep you guys informed and I want to keep you guys in the loop. If we have a little bit of a break off in the stream, maybe I'll look it up with you guys on the internet and we can go through some stuff. But either way, I will speak on that, Sass. So thank you for bringing that up and bringing it to my attention. It's been a crazy, crazy week. So if I've been missing things or if I'm not up to speed with everything going on, my apologies. But I definitely appreciate my viewers giving me the heads up on what's happening. So thank you for that. Brian Glenn says Charlottetown. It's at the Coles building next to the Province House. There you go. As long as they're peaceful, they can counter protest. Well, and that's my concern. My concern for the march is that realistically on the right side of the spectrum, when we talk right and left in politics, or opinions for that matter, the right side of the spectrum is usually pretty, um, we'll just say, behaved when it comes to protests. They're pretty organized. We saw this during lockdowns with COVID protests on the weekends when groups were going, especially through downtown Calgary. There were never really any incidents or any violence or any misbehaving. We saw it with the Freedom Convoy. Well, the government tried to make up lies that fires were being started and food was being stolen from the homeless. In fact, none of that was happening. We seem to protest properly. And the problem when it comes to plants and when it comes to Antifa is that they're paid to be there. They're paid to cause a ruckus. They're paid to cause a disturbance. Um, I know when people were protesting hospitals during lockdowns, Antifa would show up and cause a lot of problems. And again, the police claim they're limited as to what they can do and they kind of just stand by and watch it happen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Wednesday across the country. And again, if anything does happen, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on things. I will be dropping content, even if it's later in the day that something happens. I may try to get some later in the day content for you guys on Wednesday. If not, it'll pop up Thursday. But we'll try and keep things rolling in terms of information for the Million Person March. It's going to be interesting to see, first off, what the turnout looks like in what cities, and also any kind of pushback, I guess, because if you look on Twitter, huge pushback going on from from the other sides. Um, in fact, let me see if I can bring one of those up today because I did have a I should have been more prepared, and usually I am. I apologize, folks. I I bought a new laptop yesterday because video processing was heavy on my old laptop that I used to use for streams and for video editing was a couple of years old and it was slow. So I went and picked up because viewers and subs have been coming in so much lately. As I said, when the channel makes money, I put it back into the channel. So I went and got a new laptop and said, let's sink some money into the channel, get some better equipment. But I didn't really have anything uh, pulled up in advance here because I was still working out moving everything from the old computer over to this one before stream started. So not an excuse, just my apologies for um the slowdown here in getting this information up. Now I've started to see this is the one I wanted to pull up because I thought it was quite funny how I replied. And again, it's not a flex, more so as a little bit of a chuckle. Um, let's see what we got here. So this gentleman here, Mike Gerald Gibbs. Of course, he's got the he, him, and the flag. It says here again, quotation or colon. If you're a gay male and you're not supporting trans people in their moment of the greatest threat and need, you can go to hell. We are not friends. Stop invoking your queerness to validate hate. Shame on you. So, of course, I replied, that's phobic because it just kind of shoves it back in his face. It is phobic and it's silly because with that group of people, it seems to be either agree with what I say or you're horrible. You're a Nazi. You're the worst human being alive. I have the right to damage your property. I have the right to impede your travel. I have the right to basically make your life a living hell with no repercussions because my opinion is absolute. And yeah, what a crazy day it's going to be on Wednesday. I don't know. We're going to see where things go. It's going to be interesting. Sass saying the Bud Light protest is still going on. The last article I read said they are losing so many sales. They're losing shelf space. They keep trying to come back, and I know Kid Rock went back and got caught drinking a Bud Light, so he went back on his word, and that kind of faltered on his end. But I'll tell you, when I was in the U.S. 2 weeks ago or a week ago, I guess, when we went to California, yeah, the stores are loaded with Bud Light. I always wanted to take a look while I was there. I took a look when I was in Idaho in July, and sure enough, Bud Light was basically being given away for free, and people weren't taking it. And California was no different. And it's funny in California because California is a very liberal state, especially Los Angeles. In terms of cities, Los Angeles always backing these weird um, kind of lifestyles and weird requests when it comes to special interest groups, I guess you could say. But yeah, full of Bud Light, full of everything. It's crazy. Snatch has jumped in. How you doing, Snatch? Welcome into the stream. Which brings me to since we're talking about the Million Man March, one thing I wanted to bring up, and one thing that I'm happy to share with you guys this evening, is what we are doing here at Unacceptable Fringe. And if you don't get on our community tabs, or if you're not really up to speed, I know we've talked about it multiple times. Um, and we'll bring it up once more here on this. I know you guys get sick of these things, but you know what? We're not sponsored in any way on this channel, so why not a little shameless self promotion? The Young Kid's Guide to Grooming is now out. It is now available on Amazon. There is a link below in the description, or at least there should be, for you to go get your copies. I'd get it before it's banned because, to be completely honest, I am shocked that it passed Amazon censors when it was published. It's been selling pretty good so far, and I'm happy to say that it looks like we have another success on our hands here at Unacceptable Fringe. The level of success is going to determine whether or not we can stay in the book business. So, if you want to support independent publishing, please go and grab your copy. It is very much appreciated on this channel. I don't want to tell you how to spend your money, especially in times that the economy is rough, but every copy purchase does help the channel. And it does help to keep us in business. So I greatly appreciate that. Um, Grab it before it's banned. I can't stress that enough. I think it is going to be removed at some point as soon as somebody complains about the interior of the cover, because we do show flags, we do talk about a lot of different things when it comes to genders. Um, the best part of this book and the best thing of all when it comes to this book is for the first 30 days, I'll be taking a portion of proceeds from every book sold and donating it to the I keep I want to make sure I got it right. Sorry, Advocacy Center for Calgary. I was going to say Advocacy Center for Children in Calgary, but Child Advocacy Center Calgary. I'll be donating a portion of proceeds to them to help abused children. I think that if we can put some proceeds towards helping somebody, I think that's a good one, especially with the Million Man March coming up, or the Million Person March, I guess you could call it. However, it's stated. Um, we want to help where we can. So if you're going to grab your copies, go grab your copies, get them now, get them before they're banned, and help some kids in need. So there's my shameless plug. And speaking of shameless plugs, I happen to have a copy right here of the Young Kid's Guide to Grooming. And of course, as you can see on our back cover, we've got, oh, who's that? It looks like a president, I think, laying on the ground on his bicycle. There are a lot of characters in this book when it comes to um, the ghost on the cover who might have some flight logs in his arsenal. I don't know. We'll see. I can tell you that Bill and Hillary show up in here. Uh, the president shows up in here, obviously, and so does a laptop, amongst other folks. And it does talk a lot about the weirdness that's going on with ideologies, and it kind of pokes fun at it all and makes light of it. Now, this copy of this book, this is the first copy ever printed. So this was a proof that I requested before the book was available for purchase. So this is the very first printed copy. And for anybody who's a fan of Unacceptable Fringe, or anybody who likes to collect things, I'm trying to boost memberships on the channel. And I'm trying to boost people's involvement. But one thing I find with the membership is that it just supports the channel. We really don't have anything that's an incentive. So what I'm going to do with this marker right here and now is I am going to sign this book, the very first printed copy of The Young Kid's Guide to Grooming. There it is, signed right on the front. Silver marker. You can always tell books that I've signed because they are always in silver pen. There's my signature on the front. In 30 days, I will do a random draw on the channel. Maybe we'll do it on stream. We'll have a randomizer go through. Anybody who's a member of the channel is automatically entered in to win that copy of the book, the very first printed copy, as well as signed by myself. So it's not just a first edition. This is the very first printed copy for your collection. So make sure to join the channel, become a member if you can. And if that interests you, and again, in 30 days, I'll do the draw, and one lucky member will win that book shipped to their door, courtesy of myself. Now, in order to qualify for that, again, you must be a channel member, not a subscriber. And you must live within Canada or the United States. I cannot ship overseas or to Southern America. Um, but I think it's going to be I think it'll be a fun little add-on for supporting the channel. Somebody's going to get something that should obviously be of value to them. And Snatch hits it right on the head. Membership has its privilege. Now that will qualify if people gift memberships as well. Anybody who's been gifted a membership will obviously be in that draw as well. So as long as you're a channel member at the time that we do that draw in 30 days, you do in fact qualify to be in that draw, and you will be contacted following that draw to get your information and ship you that first printed copy signed book of The Young Kid's Guide to Grooming. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a better one. I think it's honestly people have been. I've been passing it around amongst some of my friends outside of YouTube, in business and things like that. And a lot of people that have been reading my other book said that this is probably our best book to date. So if you enjoyed How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom, or One Face, Two Face, Black Face, Blue Face, or Hold the Line, or any of our other books, go and grab this one. I think it's going to be great. And again, um, a portion of revenue from that book in the first 30 days is also going to the Child Advocacy Center of Calgary to help abused children. Now, off topic from uh, the Million Person March, Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau, with his silly little address last week on retailers and grocers, talking about food prices. Um, I kind of wanted to get everybody to chime in on this one and see everybody's opinion, because one of the good things about these streams is I get to hang out with the community and talk with you guys and see what you have to say. Now, I do read my comments when the videos are uploaded, but it's always good to see them live. It's always good to see comments on the fly on a live stream. Justin Trudeau coming forward saying that in order to combat the ever rising price of inflation, um, because of his carbon tax. Now, keep in mind, whenever food is delivered to a store, um, it's delivered on a truck. Trucks need fuel. And the problem is that fuel is so expensive right now. There's a carbon tax, and that carbon tax gets pushed onto the retailer, which then pushes it onto the consumer. Retailers have to pay their overheads. They have to pay their operating costs, their staff, for their equipment. They have to pay for shipments. They have to pay to keep the lights on. So at the end of the day, when they talk about, well, they've been increasing their profits, naturally, they should be increasing their profits. Um, I don't know what's wrong in this country with making money and why people say it's so wrong to make money. I think, if anything, the distraction out of that statement from government is the fact that they are the ones that are making hand over fist right now, not the retailers. The government are the ones that should be questioned as to, why are you making so much money? Um, Outside of your usual salary of being a public servant. That's kind of the issue here, is that Justin Trudeau has now turned around and said, because of his ridiculous spending, because of his lack of regard to hold off on more spending, and his carbon tax and his woke ideologies, that now it's up to retailers to come up with a solution by Thanksgiving, or else he's not going to rule out taxing them further for making a profit. So imagine, if you will, the the hypocrisy of that statement. We're going to combat high prices passed on to the consumer at retailers by our tax, by taxing them more. And if you want to make money in this country, you can only make so much. And if you make too much, we're going to tax you an extra tax further because we're mad that you're making money. Am I the only one that thinks this is backwards? That it doesn't make any sense? Um, if anybody thinks that, like, what he's doing is starting a war with the public here, because grocers, if they're taxed further, they'll just add that to the cost, and so on and so forth. So it'll just go back and forth between the grocers and the government until everything comes to a head and people either revolt, starve to death, or one of them bends the knee. So what do we do? Like, we do live in a free market, and it is, at least the last time I checked, it isn't a crime to make money. I hear people say it all the time. Oh, look at these grifters. Look at these people trying to make money. Don't you go to a job 40 hours, 50 hours, 80 hours a week? Like, do you not get a paycheck for going to your job? Like, you're making money. So why is it okay for people to make money on paychecks, but people who go into business for themselves can't? I don't understand it. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a time where it's like, yeah, that guy's a grifter, or that person or that business is grifting. I'm not trying to shut it, but it seems like any time these days, I'm sure I'll see it in the comment after plugging my book. Look at the grift. Oh, the grifter's got a grift. That's my company. That's my business. I have to make money. That's how I keep the lights on. That's how I keep making content for you guys. That's part of the game is that you need money to feed yourself, clothe yourself, and put shelter over your head. So I don't know. I why is it on the retailer for them to figure out a solution to Justin Trudeau's nonsense? Timo's jumping in. How much is too much profit? The government would never tax themselves for the money they make. Well, that's kind of the you kind of answered the question is how much is too much? It's don't get me wrong, Galen Weston and people like that, like they do fine. But what about the mom and pop grocery stores or the small chain grocers that are struggling to keep their doors open? What are they gonna do? Socialism looks so good they need to be law. Yeah, then it becomes communism. The whole goal here is to eliminate the middle class back to medieval days, kings, lords, and everyone else is a peasant. The problem with that is that when it was going on like that, there was also revolutions. The people would uprise against monarchs. I mean, if you remember Marie Antoinette, it's let them eat cake. I mean, if they were to do that, I have no doubt you would see some form of a revolution, not a civil war, but a full on revolution from the people. Um, the problem in today's society is that we have laws, we have whether you live in Canada or the United States, we have constitutions, we have charters, we have ways of life that are written as law that realistically shouldn't be trampled on, but for some stupid reason, and I don't know what made Justin Trudeau so special, but over the last 8 years, it's like, well, yeah, those are laws. We're just not going to enforce them. I, I don't know what gives him a special pass or why all of a sudden the rules don't apply. It's crazy. It's crazy. Mr. Socks and his hobgoblin finance minister are purposely trying to crash our economy. They no longer believe it's done out of stupidity. Yeah, I get that. I get that. French Revolution started under a backdrop of overtaxation and famine. Well, yeah, and that's exactly it. Cindy jumped in. How you doing, Cindy? You broke 8,000 subs. We did this week. We hit over 8,000 subs. I'll go off topic for a second and just say again, thank you to everybody on the channel, new folks and those who have been here from the beginning. Jesus, we went up 1,000 subs in less than 2 weeks. That was crazy, and hopefully we keep going from there. I'd like to see us grow. I'd like to see us hit 10,000 by the end of the year. If we could, that would be fantastic. But hey, I'll keep cranking them out if you guys keep watching them. So anytime a video comes out, make sure to like. The likes really help the algorithm. Some people don't know that because they don't know that when they're liking a video, it's actually benefiting the content creator. It's telling YouTube, I like this content, and it's getting it out there for more people to see. So make sure to like the videos, share them out if you can. And if you're not subscribed already, make sure to subscribe. I mean, we had Justin Trudeau's grocery video drop on Friday with, I think it's sitting at about 18,000 views right now, and we're sitting at 8,000 subscribers. So that's 10,000 people watching those videos that are not yet subscribed. Come join our small fringe minority, which is turning into a fringe majority now. And let's keep growing. We're taxed to death. I don't own a business. Well, there you go. Well, and that's the problem. So taxes for the average person. Like my wife makes a very good living in her job. Um, in terms of the ability to earn money, that she's just under six figures and she pays roughly 35% of her paychecks to taxes. 35%. And when you think about that, you're taxed 35%. And then you come home and you get fuel, which you're taxed on. You get groceries, which you're taxed on. You buy clothes that you're taxed on further. So really, you're paying over half your checks to tax. That doesn't seem right. It's bogus. I That's why like you hear people saying like even 10 years ago, if somebody told me, "Hey, I make $90,000 a year," I'd be like, "Holy shit, you're doing quite well for yourself." In reality, $90,000 a year now is, "Hey, I just get by. I live check to check." That's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. Dollars for me, pennies for thee. Yeah. Let me catch up here with the chat. Celtic Canuck jumped in. Welcome into the stream, Celtic. How you doing? Hit the like button. Show the support. I appreciate that. Celtic Canuck. We said it last week. If you haven't checked out her videos, they're fantastic. She had a really good one last week. Go check out the Celtic Canuck. Make sure to subscribe to her channel. Help her with her content as well. If you ever saw my mayoral announcement video, Celtic Canuck put that together for me. Um, Completely just to help me get the word out. So I really appreciate the help from her and the good quality that she cranks out on her channel. Um, can't say enough good things about the Celtic Connect. So make sure to get over there, give her a sub, and tell her that the Fringe sent them, sent you, sent all of you. uh, Income tax is a perfect example of a temporary emergency measure that never went away. Well, Funis, you've kind of hit it on the head, and yeah, it's all emergency measures. The problem with government is that it's the old give an inch, take a mile. That every time they say, "Hey, this is just temporary," or "It's just for short term," anytime the government gets extra power, they don't want to give it back. And can you really blame them? I mean, that extra power makes their lives so much easier when they want to oppress the people, when they want to get away with their shenanigans. The problem in politics is that they get used to and like comfortable with power that isn't theirs, power that they think belongs to them, that really belongs to the people that live there. It's it's a shame to see that we don't have like-minded individuals anymore that sit around and say, "Look, we're here to do a job. We cannot abuse the powers that are vested on us. We must do what's necessary to benefit the people around us and then move on and give the job to somebody else." It doesn't happen like that anymore. It's always don't forget 15% for the big guy and um let's load our portfolios while we're in power and benefit ourselves so we can go live on a third world island when we're done and never have to work again. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. If you don't know about the history of income tax, it was brought in at the end of the First World War to combat uh, war debts. It was meant to help strengthen the economy. And as soon as it was back to normal, they were going to get rid of income tax. Well, the First World War was almost 100 years ago. And here we are still paying income tax at exorbitant levels. Again, the government got too comfortable. They go, "Oh, isn't this money great? Oh, it's so wonderful. Oh, let's not, why should we give it back? Why should we do anything?" I remember Stephen Harper running for prime minister, and I was a teenager when he was doing that, and said, "Hey, I'm going to eliminate the GST." And I remember my folks being excited about that, thinking, "Wow," because like people used to think about 7% GST and say, "Well, it's just 7%." But what you don't realize is that if you're buying a home or a vehicle or anything that's high priced like that, 7% adds up. If you had to buy a $500,000 home today and we're paying 7% GST, well, then you're paying roughly, what is that? $30,000 in GST. Just so GST is a big deal. It's a massive deal. Now, Stephen Harper did lower it to 5%, but again, this is where I get a little nervous when you start hearing politicians shooting their mouths saying, "I'm going to axe the tax. I'm going to do all these things." It's like, are you? Are you really? Because the problem is, as much as I, or sorry, CB, I said it was almost 100 years. Yes, it was over 100 years ago. I apologize. Yes, we're 100 years ago. Sorry, slip of the tongue. The problem with politicians is that I feel like what happens now, hypothetically, is a guy like Pierre Polyev, and as much as I, hope he wins office because I think he's the best shot that we have to rebuilding, is they get elected and then they get into their office and somebody hands them, the files that shows them, all the money that gets brought in and everything they stand to lose if they get rid of these taxes. And they look at it and go, "Oh, well, I mean, that's nice though, right? So, okay, so I'll tell you what, let's just backpedal a little bit. We'll reduce it a small fraction and just tell people that's all we could do right now." Like, to tell me that Stephen Harper could only reduce GST by 2%, no, he could have outright got rid of it, but he chose not to. So, if Pierre Poilievre wins the next election, is he going to actually eliminate the carbon tax? And a lot of people shit on my head when I said he slipped up in that video where he said we need to lower the carbon tax instead of eliminate. And again, I reached out to Pierre's number 2 guy and said, "Hey, what did he mean by that?" At which point he said, "Oh, we've always been clear. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to eliminate it." Well, okay, but that's not what he said in that video. I'm glad you cleared it up, but it makes me wonder, is he really going to? Or are we going to see more of the same old boys where they get in, they get comfortable, and say, well, we're going to reduce it a little bit, or we're going to eliminate it, but add a different tax in its place. Like it really makes me very cautious about what we're getting. Let me keep my income tax dollars and I'll look out for my own financial future. I couldn't agree more with that. When they were talking about Alberta getting its own CPP, I was on board with that because I said, yeah, especially things like EI. So here's my prime example of EI. And again, this is for those who aren't maybe well versed in EI. I know most people are, so bear with me. If you pay into EI, say you work at a company for 35 years and you pay and pay and pay and pay and pay into EI, you never take it. After 35 years, you retire, you leave the company, and you go home, you collect your pension, and you cash out your RSPs, and you do whatever you got to do to survive the rest of your life. All that money you paid into employment insurance, you don't get back. And a lot of people say to me, "Well, it's the same with car insurance or homeowners insurance. You pay that, and if you never make a claim, you don't get it back either." That's true. However, when I insure my home or insure my car, if I get into a car accident, I'm told, um, "We'll replace your vehicle. We'll get you a new one." The problem with EI is that if you work at a job where you make $150,000 a year and you claim for employment insurance, they say, "Well, the cap is $1,050 every 2 weeks. It's not a percentage of what you brought in. It doesn't cover your full wages. It's part of a useless program that pays you a very small amount of money." And think about that, 1050 every 2 weeks. In today's economy, you cannot live on that, in most cities. If you're looking at the average cost of rent, food, car payments, insurance, cell phones, heating, electricity, it's not feasible. 1050 every 2 weeks. So, why should we have to pay into a program that if we don't want to pay into it, like I wish there was an option that if I took a job somewhere I could say, "Yeah, I don't want insurance. I'm okay without insurance. And I'll just take a portion of my paycheck and set it aside. And if I lose my job, I'll cover myself." Right? I wish that was the case. I wish you had the option to opt out, or just like if you pay too much tax, the government gives it back. The government should be giving people back what they pay into that program every year if it's not being claimed. Instead, it goes into coffers or God knows where. That's the big problem I have with EI is you're paying into something you're not getting back. When it comes to the pension plan, all you're doing is allowing the government to spend money that now they're scrambling to figure out what they're going to do for the boomer generation because they're all going to start wanting to claim their pensions and there's no money to collect because they've spent it all. And the big problem there is now they're talking about, well, let's raise the age gap from 65 to 75. Let's make the retire because people are living longer. They didn't bank on that when they first put those rules in place. They weren't banking on people living past 65 or 70. They wanted people dead so that they didn't have to give out all that money. Stephen Harper, his Lego hair, it looks like if he takes off his hat. Yeah, I hear you. Um, A flat point of sales tax around 5% to replace income tax that stays in the provinces would work well. No creative accounting. Fair for everyone, no fair to overhead. Yes. Yeah, that would work fine. I'd be happy with that. But the problem is that you have federal tax and you have provincial tax. Like, even as a business owner, when I pay my taxes, I have to pay the feds and I have to pay the province. And it adds up. Totally adds up. It's ridiculous. I doubt conservatives would drop GST if it was bought in by a conservative party when Mulroney was the PM. Yeah, but again, that's what Tammy, I hear what you're saying, but again, Stephen Harper campaigned on eliminating the GST and then reduced it by 2%. So just think about that with Pierre. He's campaigning on axing the carbon tax. I'm not shitting on Pierre here, and I'm not saying he's not going to do what he says. But what I'm saying is that everyone who's going to vote for Pierre on the basis of believing he is going to eliminate the carbon tax. Now, if he does, thank you. That is great. I'm happy. But be cautious and think about what happens if he only reduces it instead of getting rid of it. And I'm not saying that, he said anywhere he's going to do that, or, oh, he's such a snake. It's history has a way of repeating itself. So just be a little mindful of that, and remind yourself when voting, what is my expectation versus what we might get. That's let's see. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get through the chat here. I feel bad because I'm missing so many comments. I apologize. CPP is banking on you kicking the bucket before you collect, because government keeps all you and your employer paid into. It doesn't add up. No, it doesn't, and that's why it should be eliminated. If people had the option to invest in their own stocks and bonds and take that money and put it, as long as they could show it was being put somewhere, then the government couldn't tax it or something. That's the way it should go. I pay you $1,000. The government wants 400. Yeah. EI, CPP, and immigration are all literal Ponzi schemes. Well, it's get rich quick for the government. It's all for their benefit, and that's the problem. It's the same thing I was saying earlier when income tax was established. It was, listen, we have to put this in. Everybody's got to pay their share so that we can get out of these, war debts. And over 100 years later, we're still paying. And if you were to bring it up today to a politician and said, "Are you guys ever going to get rid of that temporary measure of income tax that was put in?" They just laugh in your face and say you're stupid. Have you thought about MAID? Well, and that seems to be the turnaround. That's the alternative. Is, well, if you can't afford to live, there are answers. There are ways out for you. Lauren, welcome into the stream. I hope Pierre acts as the carbon tax, but it remains to be seen. Yeah. People will learn eventually that socialism is just one make work project to make the government bigger after another. Yeah. There's little to no business investment in Canada. We went all in on real estate speculation. Well, and that's an interesting thing, Mystical, because it's interesting you say that, because it reminds me a lot of what happened in the US in 2008. Um, you'd think people would learn from that. Now we're nowhere near at the level that the US was, because the US used to have what they called ninja applications, no income, no job applications for homes. So we're not doing those things because, again, in order to get a home now, you have to qualify through Genworth or CMHC. Um, so it's bad, but it's not as bad. What's bad is the rising prices of houses versus interest rates and consumer debt. Um, it's going to be crazy. Derek jumping in. Hello from Windsor, Ontario. Hey, welcome into the stream. Good to see you in here. Good to see some new folks joining into the stream. Again, folks, if you're late, and again, guys, I apologize if you were here at the beginning and I'm bringing it up again. I will mention again for anybody who was late coming into the stream, our new book, the Young Guide or the Young Kid's Guide to Grooming, is now available. And what I've actually done again is I have signed the first printed copy. This was a copy that was requested before the book went on sale. So this is the very first printed copy, which is signed by myself. I will be doing a draw in 30 days, and a lucky member of the channel is going to win that book. We'll do the draw on stream. I do want to make it fair so that everybody knows it was legitimate. We'll do the draw on stream. I'll get a randomizer. In order to qualify to win said book, you must be a channel member, not a subscriber. If you're a member of the channel, you're automatically entered to win. You will be added to that draw, and in 30 days, so on the 17th of October, or the Sunday of that stream, closest to the 17th of October, we'll do the draw, and someone will win that specific copy for their collection. Um, and I think that's kind of fun because again, I want to try and boost memberships, but at the same time, it encourages people um, that they're going to get some form of an incentive besides just supporting the channel. That maybe if we start giving things away like that, maybe we'll start doing regular giveaways on the channel for the time being. Because in terms of offering extra content or things like that, um, it's tough with the schedule right now. So um, yeah, maybe we'll continue doing that. CB says you can't see your signature. Give us a close up. So the problem with the signature, and again, I'll wave it here. You can kind of see it. I signed my books in silver pen. So there it is on the front. You can see it right around the waistline of good old ghost of Jeffrey Epstein. Um, it is signed there on the screen. I always sign in silver pen because I had when how the Prime Minister Stole Freedom came out. Somebody, I don't know why, and I don't know who, but somebody was passing around whether it was one copy or multiple, saying that I signed it. Um, and somebody said, I got an autographed copy of your book in Ontario. And I was like, wait, well, how did you get that? And they showed me a picture. And of course, it was not signed by me. And they were quite upset. I ended up having to mail them a copy because I felt terrible that they got swindled for what they were told was a signed copy they were at a protest or something and somebody was selling them or something. I don't know the whole story, so I don't want to say verbatim what happened, but um, ever since I started signing books after that, they were always in silver pen and they're signed a certain way. So if anybody ever tells you they got a signed copy of my book and it is not in a certain area of the book in a certain form in silver pen, specific silver pen, um, it's not legitimate. uh, Did I personally sign Jeffrey Epstein's crotch? Yes. Yeah, because we want to block that out. We don't want people seeing that. We don't want people seeing the no bits. That's he's still alive on an island somewhere, a different island. There you go. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. And if it stops moving, subsidize it. There you go. Hey, those should be those sound like the new rules of our government. That's crazy. That's um that's insane. So this week, folks, in terms of um content. Celtic Canuck bringing up a really good point here. If you get the book, reviews are a great way to support. Also, just saying, yes, if you have picked up your copy of the book, please, please, please on Amazon, leave a review. Those reviews are detrimental to not only our ranking, but for us to get in their algorithm. Same as YouTube. People that go there naturally that don't see these videos, it's a good way for them to see if it's something that they should be picking up. So make sure to leave a review. It definitely helps our content in the future. Like I said, this book, our last two books have been um, throttled on YouTube. Um, I know I always spoke about it. We always said, do we have proof? Do we know it? It is in fact. And the funny thing is that when Tamara Leach brought out her book through Rebel News over the summer, we saw a lot of the behavior going on with her book that was happening with mine, where people were saying they ordered it, never got shipped, it got lost, it was never delivered to them. So what Amazon was doing was allowing people to place orders, but then people would never get the book to the point where they'd just give up, take their refund, and move on. I always felt that Amazon was hiding numbers from me, but it sounds more like what they've been doing is the same thing they were doing to Tamara. Now, those were political books. This isn't really political satire so much as culture jamming, and we'll see how this book does. But because of the loss of sales of those books, this is basically, as a book publisher, this is probably going to be our last stand. That if this book does not do well, um, the problem is that while I have YouTube and while I have the mayoral race coming up and things like that to fall back on, my illustrator puts a lot of time and work into this book, and all of our books. And if she's not making money, then when I go to her and say, "Hey, let's do another book," it's becoming less and less um, manageable for her to do that while she's in college. And I like to see her get a little bit back for her hard work as well. So if you want to get something for your money, please support the book. It does benefit independent artists, and you guys are gonna laugh at the same time. So yeah, crazy times. Snatch says, I have a free signed copy of Derek's new book. No, you do not. Don't listen to Snatch. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a scam artist. That's You'll probably have a case full of signed books from me at some point, but I think a small town here in BC is going to have a gathering slash demonstration in support of Million Person March. Lauren, I'm happy to hear that. That's fantastic. Also, the one thing again, I'll remind everybody with that book before moving on that I forgot to mention earlier, that we mentioned at the beginning of the stream again, is that every copy of the book sold in the first 30 days, speaking of the Million Person March, I will be taking a portion of the proceeds and donating them to the Child Advocacy Center of Calgary to help abused children. We felt that because we're kind of stepping on some sensitive content in this book, that it'd be good to put some of the proceeds in a good place and help those in need. So again, you're not just supporting myself and my illustrator, you're helping some kids out too in need. So your money's going to a good place. It's And Brian says it's not for school then. It depends how you want to be viewed by the public. If you want them to hate your guts, then sure. If not, I wouldn't recommend it. In fact, we did put in this book, a lot of people show our books to their children, and we actually went out of our way this time to make sure we weren't being blamed for indoctrinating kids, to put a warning in there that you should not read this one to your children. but but it is good. Some people are saying it's our best work yet. I know Snatch got a preview of the book as it was being published, and I believe he enjoyed it. So, because he's even saying here, buy it or you're a communist. So there you go. It's I'd like to see another number one. This would be book number 5. This would be the 5th number one. And if I could, walk away and say that I'm the 5 time in terms of publishing books, that would be fantastic. I'd love to hit that mark again. Um, Brian saying send one to Trudy Two Face. You know what? Justin Trudeau does have a copy of our first book, How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom. I did have that confirmed. I've been told by Sarah Palin as well that the Donald has a copy of that book as well at Mar-a-Lago on his desk. So I'm very flattered. I almost jumped out of my skin when I was told that because I was a big fan of Donald Trump. In terms of like, I wrote a business thesis on him on the art of the deal, and I've followed a lot of what he's done in his career before becoming president. So to hear that he's got my book and has a good laugh at the content in that book really made me feel good. So um, in fact, I got in touch with an associate of his not too long ago that says they're going to try to set up some form of a sit down phone chat, and I'm telling you right now that would be like winning the lottery to even have 30 seconds to talk to Donald and tell him how huge he is. But man, what a week it's been. It's I hang out with the indie scene on Twitter. They're a fun bunch. Always good to hear. Did Justin steal the book though? No, I don't think. I think somebody bought the book and gave it to him. I know he doesn't want to talk about it. And I know, again, I've talked many times about my visit to Ottawa last September, or sorry, last October, when I was sitting in the gallery at question period, and he saw my face and left, and that's when I knew he knew who I was. That he got up and left as soon as he saw me, and hey, I'll take that as a win. But even Preston Manning told me when he reached out to me just after that book took off, he said, "I can assure you, Justin Trudeau knows about it. He's not happy about it, and he's not going to say anything about it because it's going to do nothing more than give you more legs to stand on." So, um, knowing that his hands have touched that book and he's felt like crap for even a moment is enough for me, and I'm happy for that. That's fantastic. It's Does Trudeau have a file on you? Yes, he does. I can confirm that he has a file on me. I did my taxes at the end of February this year, and my accountant phoned me and asked me, "What is it you do for business again?" And I said, "Well, I'm on YouTube, but I said I also publish books." And he says, "What was the book about?" And I said, "Well, we went viral doing a book about Justin Trudeau." And he goes, "Okay." And I said, "What's the problem?" He says, "I've never had a client be audited so fast in my entire career." And this guy's been in the business for almost 40 years. And he said, "When we submitted your taxes, within 30 minutes, the government came back and audited you. So we're going to have to redo everything." And he kind of had a good laugh at it. And it's funny because when I met with Pierre last October, the first thing he asked is, "Do you have an accountant?" And I said, "Of course I do. Why?" And he says, "Get ready for an audit." And I said, "Really?" And he says, "I guarantee you, Justin has a file on you." So that kind of confirmed it for me that he does in fact have a file on me. And I guess he's not my biggest fan. It's it's heartwarming. What can I say? The guy put my family through misery for 2.5 years. I have a deep hatred for what they did during lockdowns, and for me, that is um, a little bit of a payback, enough at least to get a smile and feel like something good came out of it. That's They're bedtime stories for his kids. There you go. It's if you've missed the video, good old um, it's Alex. I just call him Alex. What's Alex Woods on Twitter? He put out a video about 3/4 of a year ago on how the prime minister stole freedom. He did a deep fake of Justin Trudeau actually reading the entire book, and it's fantastic. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Just go on YouTube and search for how the prime minister stole freedom, and you'll find the video. It'll pop up, and amazing work, absolutely amazing work. Um, does your bank account still work? It does. It's a little empty, but it still works. So that's isn't weaponizing Canada Revenue Agency against the law? Well, so here's the thing. I don't think he weaponized it because that was a first year of business for that company. Um, you got to understand that with how viral that first book went, um, we made a very large sum of money in a very short period of time. So my guess now, as much of a laugh as I had that Pierre said that Trudeau had a file, my guess is that um, when any revenue agency would take a look at a business that makes that kind of money that quickly, that they would turn around and say, "We want to see your books." Now, of course, I've got everything in order with my company. I do everything very legally, so I had nothing to worry about. I got nothing to hide. So as soon as they said we want to audit, go right ahead. Here's all our receipts. Here's all of our reports, and it was cleared within a couple of hours. So no muss, no fuss. It's Brian says we are all being profiled at that fact. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this week. The Million Person March is definitely something I'm keeping my eyes on, and definitely something I'm going to try my best to participate in. If you guys are doing the same, make sure to chime in. I do have a video dropping Tuesday about the Million Person March. But also, like I said, Wednesday, I'm going to try to do a live stream if I happen to get down there. Um, I'll also be reporting on any kind of disruptions that come out of that protest. And if you guys have see anything happening um, or view anything going on, make sure to post in our community. Let us know what's going on. If you can provide links, make sure to do that, and I will definitely be covering those topics. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring an end to tonight's stream. Again, I can't say it enough, guys, and I know everybody gets sick of it. Go pick up the new book. Show some support. It's going to be great. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. I'm being told it's our greatest work yet. Somebody here is talking about Rick Walker. I should be on Rick Walker's channel at some point this week for an interview for the new book. So keep your eyes out for that if you follow Rick and Maverick Media on YouTube. I know Viva mentioned our book on Friday. So we're going to be making our rounds as things move on here. Hopefully I get back on Shadow Davis. I'm still waiting to hear back on that one. Fun times ahead. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you guys stay safe. And if you go to the protests, make sure to keep your heads above water. Keep mindful of your surroundings and stay safe, especially there. Again, if anything happens, make sure to post in our communities. Let us know what's going on. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell for notifications, and join us next Sunday as we wrap up what went on at the Million Person March. And guys, have yourselves a great week. I hope you guys again are safe. I worry so much about safety with counter protest. Keep your stick on the ice, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch you next week on the next one. Take care.